Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So, what does food mean to you? Well, join me this week for my two special guests. But before we get started with the interview segments, I wanted to talk about something special. You know, Valentine's Day is coming up, and I just found this survey about the top hotels for romantic escapes that are celebrity approved. In other words, they're hotels that celebrities frequent often. So, we're going to tell you the top 10 list of the hotels all around the world in case you have not found a spot to be at for Valentine's Day. You might want to try one of these hotels or create a staycation that is equal in comparison to some of these hotels. And the top three hotels, we'll start with the top three hotels, and they score the hotels from 1 to 5, 5 being obviously the top. So the first hotel is called the Aman Tokyo, and that claims the top spot as the ultimate hotel for a romantic escape. It achieved a perfect score of 5, and it's located in the Otamachi Tower in the heart of Tokyo. It's an urban oasis that offers breathtaking views of the city's skyline and Mount Fuji with tranquil and minimalist design. The hotel's luxurious amenities include a state-of-the-art spa, fine dining at the elegant Nama restaurant, and spacious rooms with sweeping views of the city, which all combine to create an unparalleled romantic atmosphere. The number 2 spot, which second place, is a hotel called Amanyara, and that is situated on the pristine shores of Providenciales in the Turks and Caicos Islands. This resort offers unparalleled seclusion with its private villas and beachside pavilions, candlelit dinners on the beach, oh, sounds beautiful, private boat rides, and personalized spa treatments. The number 3 spot is the Grand Velas Riviera Maya, and that is located along the Caribbean coast of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. It's an all-inclusive refuge that offers stunning beachfront views, a tranquil ambiance, and a luxurious spa with couples treatments designed to relax and rejuvenate. And in the number 4 spot is the Hotel du Cap Eden Rock, which is in Antibes, France. That's a place I've been in. It's really beautiful. And that scored a number 5. Then Il Pelicano, which is in Tuscany, Italy. I've never been there, but that scored a 5. Then that's Las Ventanas El Paraíso. That's in Los Cabos, Mexico. It scored 5. Then one and only Palmilla, that's in Los Cabos, Mexico. That scored a 5. Post Ranch Inn, the only one in the United States. The Post Ranch Inn is in Big Sur, California, and that's in the USA, and that scored a 5 also. The Brando, which is in Tetaroa, French Polynesia, and that scored a 5. And the last hotel, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, the number 10 spot is the Four Seasons George V in Paris, France, and that scored just under 5. It scored 4.85. Have you ever stayed in any of these hotels, in any of these resorts? If you have, please let us know. Comment. You can hashtag the Maria Liberati Show and let us know how you like these hotels and if you agree that they should be the top romantic escapes. Enjoy your Valentine's Day and stay with me for this week's special guest. And my guest today is Erin Mittelstadt. She is the CEO of a really interesting company called the Fruit Guys. And fruit is so healthy for you. So she's going to tell us a little bit about some of the benefits of fruits and a grant that the Fruit Guys is offering to small small farmers also, which is really nice. So it's great to support small businesses, definitely. Erin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us about at this time of the year, I know you guys distribute fruit to different places. So is there like specific fruits that are the most popular, or what's trending, I guess, in 2025?
Yeah. Well, we deliver fresh fruit primarily to offices, and one of
Uh-huh.
the most popular fruit time and time again is bananas.
Okay.
Everybody, it's easy to eat, has lots of good nutrients, but this time of year, during winter, is a great time for all citrus fruits.
Okay.
So, really, I mean, you guys are used to seeing the lovely oranges and grapefruit, blood oranges. One of my favorites is the cara cara. Cara cara
Oh,
is a mix
yes.
of navel orange. Yeah, they're not as tart or
Uh-huh.
acidic as some oranges. They've got
Right.
that nice pink inside. So those are delicious. And then a lot of the small citrus is fun everywhere. Our school clients love it, our office clients love it. I
Uh-huh.
take it with me to travel because it's so easy. So one of my favorites that's kind of unique is a kishu. It's a very
What is that?
small, yeah, it's a mandarin orange. It's kind of small. It's almost got a little bit of a puffy skin, so it feels like the skin it just comes right out of the skin, and it's sweet and delicious. But now we get into all those late season yummy, like Ojai Pixies is another mandarin that's delicious.
Uh-huh.
Tahoe Gold mandarins. They're all these lovely smaller pieces of citrus that are super easy to eat.
Right. And are you getting, so these fruits that you're talking about now, are they from the US or are they grown all over the world?
Many of them are grown over the world, but we try and source from the US first whenever we can. So, because we have farms and facilities in California, a lot of the citrus comes out of California. But we do have locations across the country. And so we're sourcing whenever we can locally. But most of the citrus in the US is coming out of
Is coming
California
out of
and Florida.
California. I thought so. I thought so. So so those are the things I guess that you're saying are trending, the mandarins. How about clementines? Clementines are usually I don't know if I've seen them around this time of the year, but I know they're pretty popular also.
Yep, we'll see those as well. And they're all different sort of names and styles, slightly different varieties of these small, citrus fruit.
Exactly, exactly. So, can you tell us some of I know you're probably pretty well versed about the benefits. Of course, we know fruit is great for you. So, it's a better snack than, processed foods. So, can you tell us some of the benefits of some of the fruits that you're aware of?
Yeah. And you guys know, because you're a food lover, the
Yes,
vitamins and minerals and fiber in fruit are just really great for us. It gives us the energy we need, satisfies our hunger, but without that brain fog or sluggishness that can sometimes happen when we're eating more
right.
processed food. The thing that I found really interesting is that fruit can actually increase our mental health as well. So there's a lot
Hmm,
of connection lately about the healthy gut, biome,
uh-huh.
microbiome, if the healthier gut microbiome you have, the less likely to have anxiety and depression. But there's even been studies about productivity. So some
Really?
fruit can increase your level of BDNF, and
Uh-huh.
BDNF is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And it's
Really?
a protein. Yeah, it's a protein that helps learning and memory. So
Mm-hmm.
fruit like blueberries can actually increase that level of BDNF that can help us learn and recall information better. Um,
Oh,
there
yes.
was even a study in 2020, it was a pretty large study of 5,700 people that showed that participants who ate more fruits and vegetables and exercised regularly could recall information better and spoke more clearly or fluently than their peers. So it's not just about our physical health, it's about our mental well-being and also our, productivity or our mental functioning as well that fruit can really support.
Exactly. Oh, well, that's really, really fascinating. That's good to hear. There's other benefits to eating fruit that, it's not just the vitamins they're providing, it's all these other things that are also benefits. So, um, do you have any like little I could say recipes or little things that you think people, are great little tips for things that people can do with fruit, like maybe some quick little somethings. Obviously, smoothies are always a go-to thing, right? Just
Yeah.
throwing all the fruit you have in there and with whatever dairy, non-dairy, making a great smoothie. But anything else you can think of?
Yeah. I mean, I have to admit that I haven't always been the best fruit eater over my
Uh-huh.
life. And so
Uh-huh.
the first thing for me is just have it around and have it be out there. If
Right.
you're going to put it in the refrigerator, put it on a shelf that's really you're going to see every time.
Uh-huh.
A lot of fruit too, like, citrus and stuff can be out on the counter. So you just grab it. I have found the thing that helps me most is trying to slip it into meals that I might already have. So if I make overnight oats, I throw blueberries and raspberries in there. If I'm having a salad, I throw an apple in there. So I'm really trying to, and it's easy enough to grab an apple or banana as a snack, but
Exactly.
when I'm trying to just really boost my fruit eating, it's adding
Hmm.
it to something I might already be making.
Right, exactly. And I know, like, you can add, for instance, risotto is really good with strawberries. You can saute like strawberries. That's really, really good because it kind of pairs well with Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. It's sweet. So there's so many different things that you can do with fruit. I know there's a coleslaw you can make with like green apples, really
Mhm.
shredded. So there's so many great things that you can do definitely with fruit. And that was a great tip. Definitely, I think the best thing is to have them easily accessible, especially if you have a family, instead of them reaching for the potato chips or whatever snack. If you have the fruit there and easily accessible, it's definitely going to make them want to just go for whatever you have out there. So tell us about the grant that you guys offer. I know the deadline is January 31st, so people don't have much time to apply, but can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So since 2012, we've been issuing small micro grants to small
Uh-huh.
farms all across the country.
Hmm.
And so each year we open up an application process, and small farms can apply for these grants. The grants are $5,000 or less, but
Uh-huh.
to a small farm, it can really make a difference. It's
Yes,
something.
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and so these projects are usually around sustainability. So we've had some where they're doing drip irrigation, some where they're installing like a hoop house to protect the product from frost and extend their growing season.
Hmm.
We've got everything from 1 acre urban farms to larger, but still small farms, in rural areas. So it's really varied, but if there are farms that are interested, I highly recommend applying for the grant. It's a great program.
Definitely. Any way to promote the small farmer because we need them to keep producing that wonderful food, right? So where can somebody apply for that or get information for that if they want to? I mean, we'll include this on the blog at the marialiberati.show.com, but can you tell people where they can get information on that?
Sure. If you go to the Fruit Guys Community Fund website, then you
Uh-huh.
can look for the grant application is there and you can access it there.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for being here. We're just about out of time. And but yes, definitely I would encourage if anyone has a small farm to definitely to apply for that. That's a wonderful grant. Thanks so much, Erin, for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Discover the timeless secrets of Italian cuisine with a Basic Art of Italian Cooking series by Maria Liberati. That's me. From fragrant basil to silky olive oil, each page is a culinary masterpiece. Taste the passion, embrace the tradition, and create your own masterpieces in the kitchen with my Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. Buon appetito, and you can find the books on Amazon.com, Kindle, on marialiberati.com, and on the publisher's website, artoflivingprimamedia.com. And my special guest today is Olly Richards, and he's an author, but he's also the founder of Story Learning. Is that correct, Olly?
That's right. Yeah.
The company. And he's going to help us. Everybody is traveling a lot more now, and some people are even setting up residency in other countries. So it's really helpful if you know another language for many reasons. And Ollie's going to give us some tips. He his company specializes on learning languages through storytelling, which sounds like a really interesting way to learn another language. So he's going to help us with figuring out how to do that. Ollie, thanks so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. Great to see you.
Yes. So, how, like, when you're saying learn another language through storytelling, do you mean, like, in other words, reading a story and then that will help you to begin learning languages, reading stories in other languages? Is that basically the gist of what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. Because, if you think back to the way that you learn languages at school and the way that they were taught, it's done in a very academic way. I remember my teacher writing up, big lists of words on the board that I had to copy
Right.
down. I remember having to memorize these grammar rules and getting tested on them. And the whole world has this approach to languages, much like a science subject or maths, where it's just a jigsaw puzzle to be assembled, and then as long as you get the rules right, then you'll turn up speaking fluently. But of course, that's not the way it works. And
Hmm.
every speaker of a language in the world breaks rules just as often as they follow them.
Yes.
And so the foundation of learning a language through stories is that, as children, we learn our mother tongue by hearing stories being told to us. If we're lucky, then we have our parents read us bedtime stories, but we also hear gossip. We listen to TV, we read books, and we make sense of the world that way. And so the principle of story learning, as I call it, is simply that we look to replicate that. We don't try to make language learning about lists of words and following rules. We try to throw you in at the deep end from day one, so that you at least have a very clear idea of what the language actually is.
Oh, that's great. I remember when I learned, I was telling you I speak three languages. English, of course, is my mother tongue, but when I learned French in school, they had a method, they called it the immersion method. That's how I learned French. So they would just, everybody had to speak, actually, the teacher, not everybody, because obviously the students didn't know French, but the teacher had to, spoke French through the whole class, and you just kind of picked it up. And I think, I guess that's what you're talking about with storytelling. So you're reading a book, right, in another language, and or hearing that. So you're recommending like hearing stories in another language, right, to pick up the language,
Yeah, yeah, right. So you think, what's the difference between immersion and reading stories? It's fundamentally the same thing. The
right?
problem is, well, with all language learning, you've
Right,
got the theory about what works, and then you've got
right.
the practice. Now,
Uh-huh.
everyone will. It's intuitive for everybody to say immersion is the best way to learn a language. Okay, great. So what are you just going to jump on a plane and then go and live in
Right.
in a village in France for the next 5 years? No,
Exactly.
it's not
Exactly.
practical.
Yes.
That's the difficulty with immersion. It's just difficult to
Yes.
practically do. And but the beauty of books and reading is that it's a very, very convenient. It's very conducive to a person sitting down and learning. You can look at the words on the page. You can reread the page. You can listen to the audio. You can read the words. It's a very good mechanism and modality for studying. So you could think of it a bit like that. What reading stories does is it takes the world of immersion and it makes it practical so that you can actually do it and actually get results in the real world.
Yes. Well, I should have mentioned though that immersion method. So you basically, I remember, going somewhere and they had like it was a college that in the summertime had like a 9 month program. So you had to go somewhere, to do that. Whereas with the storytelling, you don't have to go anywhere. You can just do it in the comfort of your
Yeah.
own home, correct?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
exactly.
it's exactly that. Like, if for most people in the world, like, if I could do anything, if I wanted to learn Chinese tomorrow, then yes,
Right.
number one way, give,
to go
genie in a
there.
bottle scenario. I'm just going to go there and live in a village somewhere. But in
Yes,
reality, especially as an adult with a job, with a family, you can't do that.
yes,
And so
yes,
we're always dealing with an imperfect scenario.
exactly. So that's a good idea. So, what would you like? So if parents, because I know especially, like I learned Italian when I was very young, and that was from immersion because my whole family spoke it. So, but I know I learned that as a young child, and it just I absorbed it like a sponge. And I know kids do, they absorb languages like a sponge. So I think the best time to do it, obviously you can do it anytime, but for parents, I think it's a good idea if you want your child to learn another language to start them young, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there are some some misapprehensions, some misunderstandings about how we learn at different ages.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's true that children learn like a sponge, but it's not actually that fast. If you think about how long it takes a baby to learn to speak
Right,
to a very competent level. I mean, it's the best part of 10 years until
right,
they can
right.
speak very, very well, right? Even in their native
Exactly.
language. And
Yes.
so it's the same. It's the same is true for a foreign language. So a child can learn another language, even two, three, four languages, very apparently effortlessly.
Right.
And my own daughter is bilingual, English and Cantonese. But in order to do that, her mother has had to speak to her permanently in Cantonese every day of her life
Right.
in order to get there. So
Right. Right.
it is effortless, but it's not quick. And
Right.
so really the best thing what I would advise people to do is just to create the language environment. If you have a 3 or 4, 5 year old at home, just get them used to hearing the language. So if you have TV on, have the TV on in French. Can you be
Right.
listening? Can you have storybooks in French? Listen to audiobooks in French. Just try to create the environment where the language is normal to them,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
their ear is likely to adapt to it over time.
To it over time. Yes, and I didn't really mean that they could learn it quickly. I just meant that what you just said, effortlessly, it's kind of easier for them to pick it up because they tend to absorb things. That's what I meant. They absorb like a sponge. But yes, exactly. No, that's a great idea then to surround the kids. Is there any languages, I guess you really can't tell, but any languages that are kind of easier for English speakers to pick up. Um, do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, there are two factors when it comes to ease of learning a language. So one factor is the distance of the language you're learning from your native tongue,
Yes.
and the second factor is motivation.
Uh-huh.
So you could so technically speaking, if you're looking at the relative difficulty of a language, then a language that's close to English is going to be relatively simple to pick up. So we're talking
Right.
here about Dutch, we're talking about Spanish, Italian, French, because English has a lot of shared roots with these languages.
Yes.
So all things being equal, you're going to find it easier to learn, say, Spanish than you are to learn Swahili because Swahili is a
Yes.
completely different language.
Totally different.
But but the thing is, again, coming back to the fact that we're all humans and and there are practical considerations. If you develop an irrational passion for Swahili, maybe you
Hmm.
have friends there, maybe you fall in love with the culture.
Uh-huh.
Well, the language that you're motivated by is going to be many times easier than a comparatively easier language because that motivation is going to mean that you're going to study a lot. You're going to surround yourself. You're not going to need to find to drum up motivation to study. So whenever anyone asks, what's the best language for me to learn, I would say, well, what's the language that you would roll out of bed every day and want to
Yes.
spend time studying, and that's going to end up being the easiest language for you.
Exactly. You are absolutely right. I definitely agree with that. So, any last minute tips for people, even adults that want to learn another language?
Sure. Well, I mean, so people get into trouble when they try to study their way to fluency. They think if I just work harder, if I just study more, if I just memorize more, practice my that doesn't really work. What will get you to even if you do all those things, what will get you to real competency and fluency in the language is being surrounded by it and being immersed in it to such a level that your brain starts to fill in all the gaps. Your subconscious brain starts to fill in all the gaps that your conscious brain can't. And so my main advice is to really make the language a part of your daily life and just normalize it. So you switch your TV into the language. Use Google in French rather than English. When you're in the car, turn on the radio. Watch movies in the language with English subtitles, perhaps. All of these little things.
Yes.
And then, of course, read stories. Just to try to read stories which are simplified or graded, as they're called, in order to be at an easier level, so that you can just immerse yourself in the real thing and get your head out of the textbooks.
That's definitely good. And with being able to be on the internet, people can do what you said, surround yourself with music in whatever the language is. So, you have the music, you can find movies in whatever the language is today. It's just, it makes it much more simpler, and even finding stories in other languages also great.
There's almost too much choice, That's
There really is.
it was easier, but when I first started learning languages back in like the year 2000 or so, the only way that I could get access to French was to go down to the local European bookstore in Soho and buy a copy of Le Monde and spend a day trying to devour the newspaper.
Right.
Now you have everything on your phone. So in a way, what we
Exactly.
actually need now is discipline to
Discipline.
actually pick something we like and spend real time with it.
Exactly. Great. Olly, thank you so much for being here, and tell us the website where people can go, that they can find stories for learning languages.
Absolutely. Well, if you'd like to, absolutely. So if you'd like to learn more about learning languages with stories, you can go
Yes.
to my website at storylearning.com, or you can search for Story Learning on YouTube, and we have many, many videos there about language learning.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. Much success. Sounds like it's a really interesting venture. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to my special guest this week, and as always, thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle, for this week's episode. And as always, you can find me at marialiberati.com. You can find me on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Twitter or X at Maria Liberati, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati. On YouTube, we have our own channel now. It's the Maria Liberati Show channel. And let's see, on Vimeo, you can find me at Maria Liberati. And I should mention on YouTube, you can find the podcast, but you can also find videos of some of my cooking shows. And let's see, you can also find my Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, at artoflivingprimamedia.com. That's the publisher's website. You can also find the books on Amazon, on Kindle, and Barnes and Noble as well. And until next time, peace, love, and pasta.